Welcome everybody to the Shelby County Pregame Show. My name is Andrew Simonson from the Shelby County Reporter. I'm joined here by Daniel Locke. He's over at Shelby County High School. I am here at the Hoover Met as we get ready for a full slate of high school football action on this great Friday night, a Week 9 Friday night as we wind down the regular season. Just 3 weeks remaining before we hit the postseason. Daniel, how's it like over at Shelby County? What are your thoughts on the evening?
Well, Andrew, first of all, thank you for having me, and I hope you had a great trip over to Hoover. It's filling in slowly but surely here over in Columbiana. Folks are starting to fill in on both the home sides and the road sides with the visiting Selma Saints fans. So it's going to be a good night here in Shelby County.
Sounds good. In case you're wondering, Daniel is one of our staff writers here at the Shelby County Reporter. He's doing our stories for us on a weekly basis. Alec, Etheredge, and Tyler Rayleigh both unable to join us tonight. No worries there. They will still be good for live coverage tonight as we get underway here with this Friday night of football action. Before we get started, I do want to make sure that we shout out all of our sponsors at the start. That's 3D Air Services, Wayne's Pest Control, Montevallo Main Street, as well as Oak Mountain Hearing Association. Big thanks for them. We couldn't do this without them. So let's go ahead and dive into it. We've got our 8-man action to start out with, private school action down there in the AISA and the ACSC. We're going to start over in Harpersville as Coosa Valley takes on North River Christian in an AISA Class A matchup. Daniel, your thoughts on this one?
Well, this is a Coosa Valley team that's been very hit and miss throughout the year. There are some weeks where they come out ready to play and Reese Donahue's squad picks up some impressive wins. Then there are some weeks I'm really thinking that Cornerstone game where that's just not the case. However, tonight the Rebels have North River, who is 1-7 on the year. So that's a pretty easy pick for me. I'm going with Coosa Valley to win this one.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely a good showing for the Rebels here. North River averaging just 9 points per game on offense, giving up 59 a game on the defensive side. Their only win is against a winless Heritage team. Feels pretty easy for me to pick Coosa Valley, especially given their explosive offense. Let's move over to Columbiana now for a big showdown atop the region as Cornerstone, with its one loss of the season that came against Escambia, they're taking on an undefeated Macon East team. The second straight week, they're taking on an undefeated team. Daniel, do you think that this week ends differently than last week?
You know, I do think that this James Lee squad does not stay down long. They come out, they run the football well, better than just about anybody in this region, and I think the Chargers are going to get it done once again tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting season to follow for the Chargers overall. They've got a potent rushing attack. They've been very good in a lot of respects, but the defense hasn't quite been on par as it was last season. Obviously, a lot of different reasons for that. They graduated a great senior class last year, and they've succeeded well against the vast majority of their schedule, but they haven't just gotten to that next level where it's been required for them to compete for their third straight state title. I do think they'll be competitive in this one. I think last week they got a little bit of a road test against Escambia. They'll be playing in front of their home fans, and now they've gotten experience with a really solid team up with Escambia. They'll be facing a really good Macon East team, one that's scoring 60 points per game and averaging just 8 on defense at the 8-man level. So if Cornerstone's able to get the tempo rolling on the ground, steal a couple turnovers, this could be anybody's ball game. But for right now, I really do think that Macon East is going to walk away with the victory just because they've proven it over the course of the season. I don't think Cornerstone has shown that can rise to that level quite yet, but you never know. This is a great and well-coached Cornerstone Chargers team, coached by James Lee and Sam Adams. They should be able to get this team up and ready for this game in what should be a great atmosphere over there at Michael Willis Stadium. We're going to round out our 8-man slate over at East Central over in Pinson as Evangel travels down there to face the East Central Homeschool Patriots. This is going to be the final matchup of conference play in the regular season for the Evangel Christian Lightning. They sit at 3-0 within conference play right now, pretty much assured of that number one spot within the ACSC. They can lock it up with a win here tonight and finish a perfect 4-0 in conference play. East Central coming in with the 2-1 record, their lone loss against Southern Christian. Daniel, how do you see this one shaking out?
I think Evangel's going to get this win, despite some struggles at times this year, and just quite frankly not being the Lightning squad that we've grown accustomed to the past few years. I think that Coach Smith's squad is going to come out ready to play tonight and get it done in region play.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think this is a brand new Lightning team compared to what we saw to start the season. They faced one of the most challenging schedules in the nation, Arundel Parrott and River Oaks, two of the incredible teams that they lost to earlier in the season, and a flat performance against the Freedom Cowboys with a backup quarterback. I think all those losses shaped them into who they are, and since they started conference play, this has just been a completely new team, and that was proven last week against Southern Christian. Definitely a prove-it game for them for both their state title hopes and their national title hopes. It's a great team, anchored on the ground by Isaac Griffith, but Eli Black just going through the air and being the absolutely phenomenal quarterback that he's been, along with a good defensive playmaker. I think he's able to get it done. I think the Lightning are able to get it done, finish undefeated in conference play, set themselves up for 2 more games at home to potentially win yet another state title in the ACSC. Well, that's enough for our 8-man action here. We're going to move over to our 11-man games, starting down in Class 2A with a massive, massive game as the Vincent Yellow Jackets travel down south of the county to Chilton County, taking on the Isabella Mustangs. Vincent enters this one at 5-2 and 3-1 in region play. Isabella at 4-4 and 2-2 in region play. Both of these two teams currently in the mix for those 4 playoff spots. Still a little bit of an open question as to how they'll finish. We'll figure out a lot more tonight as these two teams battle, and then the other two teams face each other as well in Sulligent and Tuscaloosa Academy. Daniel, how do you see this matchup shaking out? Do you think that Vincent's able to get it done and position themselves well for a home playoff game?
Yeah, Andrew, I haven't picked against Vincent any this year. They are my pick to win the 2A state title. I'm sticking with that tonight. It's all Vincent all day.
It's been a very confident prediction from Daniel. I think this team definitely going to have what it takes to go deep within the playoffs just because of what we've seen from them throughout this season. Obviously, right now, a little bit of question at the quarterback position. We don't know if, as of game time, if Lane Mims is going to go or not. If he goes in this one, it's going to change the dynamics of the game greatly. But Landon Archer, a phenomenal athlete with a phenomenal arm that you've gotten used to seeing in the spring when the Jackets win the state championship. So I think they're going to be a great team once again this week, especially if they're able to establish the run. Jaden Roberts goes for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns against Aliceville last week. That is what they need every single week if they want to keep winning down the stretch and make it a push deep into the postseason. I really do like Vincent in a close one. I think it's going to be a tough road environment. Isabella has proven that it can be a tough and hard-nosed team, but I think they're going to get a lot done on the offensive side that proves that they have what it takes to win this matchup. Now let's head over to Montevallo. They're over on the road this week in Boole, over on the west side of Alabama. They're going to be taking on Sipsey Valley in some regional action over there in Class 5A Region 3. Before we do, we're going to have to let you know about Montevallo Main Street, one of our sponsors this season on the Shelby County Pregame Show. They've got a lot of phenomenal things going down there in Montevallo Main Street, from Friday night lights to all the weekend activities. There's no better place to be at on the weekend than at Montevallo Main Street. They've got a couple of great events coming up. That Art Stalk on October 26th, and then the week afterwards, the Day of the Dead Festival, November 1st, something that you don't want to miss, an amazing celebration of Hispanic Latino heritage there over in Montevallo. So definitely get out to Montevallo Main Street both this fall and throughout the entire year. Obviously, now the Bulldogs going to be taking on the Sipsey Valley Bears. Sipsey Valley comes in 4-4 and fighting at the 3-way tie with both Selma and Jefferson for that 4th seed in the Class 5A Region 3. And then Montevallo sitting at 0-4 in Region Play. Still looking for that first win in Region Play, and still looking for that first win overall since that season opener against Tarrant, sitting at 1-6 on the season. Daniel, do you think that this is the week that Montevallo is able to get over the hump and get back into the win column?
As much as I would love to say that this is the week that it all clicks for Garrett Langer and company, I'm not in a position to say that. This is a Sipsey Valley team that, although hasn't had a great region slate at 1-3, they have played well on the season overall, 4-4 on the year. So, no, I don't think Montevallo gets it done this week.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. I think Sipsey Valley, a very hard-nosed team. It's not going to go out and blow you away by any means, but this is definitely a team that picks its spots well and will fight hard until the end. I saw them in action earlier this season against Shelby County, and they did just that against the Wildcats. I think they're going to have a lot of opportunities to do so here, as well as they face a weakened Bulldogs defense that's been allowing quite a lot of points recently, including one of their worst efforts of the season just a week ago against Shelby County. But I really do think this team is starting to put together a really good identity, especially on the ground. Caleb Merriweather doing a lot of good stuff for them as well. And then Jaden Rutledge proving to be a great weapon for the future. 103 yards and 2 scores last week He was a great weapon for them. If they're able to get him established on the ground, Montevallo could come out and steal this one. But I'm with you. I think that Sipsey Valley, with the added motivation of going into the playoffs, and just with Montevallo not really being able to stretch together a lot of good performances, I think the Bears are going to get it done in that matchup. Now let's turn over to the other matchup within Class 5A Region 3 that we are covering. The Selma Saints are going to be traveling to Columbiana, where Daniel is right now, to take on the Shelby County Wildcats. As the Wildcats team basically locked in at the number 3 spot right now. Could see a little bit of movement throughout the next few weeks. Obviously, with Northside and Demopolis in front of them with some tiebreakers as well. Definitely going to be an interesting run as this is the final game within region play for this Wildcats team. They got a bye next week, and then they'll be hosting East Limestone in non-region action. I'm sorry, North Sand Mountain, my bad, in non-region action. So this is going to be an interesting matchup for them. Actually, my bad, I was right the first time. It will be East Limestone taking on the Wildcats. My apologies, folks. But right now, Daniel, after a 340-yard total offense performance last week against Montevallo, do you see any of the same sort of thing happening against a struggling Selma team?
I definitely could see that. I don't think it's going to be quite 340. My prediction would be around the 280, 290 mark, just because I do believe that Selma is that much better than Montevallo. However, I'm picking the Wildcats to get this one done tonight.
Yeah, you saw Selma get a dominant win over the Bulldogs when they met just a few weeks ago down in Selma. And Selma, one of those 3 teams that we mentioned in the last segment, who's going to be fighting for that number 4 overall seed. Still a lot that could happen within that region. But Shelby County has been an absolutely electric team on the offensive side. Devin Alexander, Tyson Duncan doing absolutely great things on the ground. It's been about as balanced of an effort as we've seen in quite some time from this team. Ryan Seitz, in his 4th year of starting, hard to believe, with the Shelby County Wildcats. He's doing great things through the air for this team as well. But the defense has been a little bit of a struggle this season. We've seen Selma put up some points against struggling defenses like Montevallo is what I was trying to say. So we could see Selma potentially wiggle its way into this game and make it a little bit closer than some of us may believe. But this Shelby County team on offense is just operating at a completely different click right now. I think they'll be extremely dangerous against whoever they end up facing within the playoffs, currently slated to be Valley. But it's going to be a really interesting run these last couple of games to see if that defense can get up to snuff and if they can position themselves to potentially pull a road upset in the first round. I've got the Shelby County Wildcats winning big tonight. Let's move over to Class 6A. We've got 3 big matchups there, including 2 county battles. But before we get to the county battles, we're going to talk about the Pelham Panthers within their matchup against the Benjamin Russell Wildcats. We definitely have to talk about Wayne's Pest Control. Before we get to that, while Pelham Panthers are playing defense on the field, they're playing defense for your home as well. Go visit them. Go search them up. Wayne's Pest Control to take care of all of your pest needs. It was a tale of 2 halves last week for Pelham last week against Helena in a big rivalry game. Of course, that second half ends up being the one that was worse than the first half and ends up being the one that decides the game against Helena, that rivalry battle. And now this Pelham team has a lot to handle in this last region matchup of the season. They're taking on a Benjamin Russell team 6-1 on the season and undefeated since its opener against Opelika. Definitely going to be an interesting one to see if these Pelham Panthers with a pretty solid offense can keep up with one of the best offenses in the state.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I don't think they can. I think it's going to be a second straight loss for Ross Newton and company. They're going to fall 4-4 on the year, and Ben Russell is going to improve to 7-1. And improve their chances of making a deep playoff run in 6A.
Yeah, this is a Wildcats team that's really, really dangerous. I saw them earlier in the season in that classic against Spain Park. Kingston Prier does a really great job of establishing himself in the pocket. But the guy you got to look out for, not just Adarian Morgan, although 5 stars and all, that says a lot about him, and he lives up to that hype. But it's Elijah Johnson, a 2-way weapon on both the offensive and defensive end. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. He can get an interception while he's at it. He's definitely going to have to be the guy that this Pelham team wants to counter on both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. But I think the key for the Pelham Panthers is go back to what was working earlier in the game against Helena, and that's establish the run. Use Tristan Rutledge, get those hard yards on the ground, even mix in some quarterback runs with Dylan Smith as well. When they were getting him the ball, it was working as well, albeit at a much lighter clip, as Rutledge was the lead back carrying the bulk of those carries, and then also minimize turnovers and other mistakes. You can't fall short in those drives in the red zone and settle for things like field goals or turnovers on downs. That was some of the things that hampered this Pelham team a week ago. Still a pretty clean team overall, but you won't want to give this Ben Russell team a short field or any sort of momentum because they are the exact sort of team who can hurt you in a hurry. I think Benjamin Russell is able to overcome all of that, use that momentum that they've had, and I think they're going to play a little bit angry after giving Helena a little bit of a backdoor into their meeting a couple of weeks ago before the Wildcats went on a bye. So definitely going to pick Benjamin Russell as well in this matchup. And we're going to move over to Calera against Spain Park, the first of our two county battles within this slate here. Calera entering this matchup at 2-5 and Spain Park at 5-2 as well on the season. Definitely going to be an interesting matchup as well for them. And we're definitely going to have to talk about Wayne's Pest Control once again for the Spain Park Jaguars. Go search up Wayne's Pest Control. Make sure that you find them for all their needs. And then also we have to shout out 3D Air Services. Missed them on the Pelham segment earlier. Definitely want to make sure that you search up 3D Air Services, especially as the cooler weather hits. You're going to want to make sure that your house is nice and warm when you need to turn on that heat or get through that last little bit of summer that we're at right now. Make sure you check them out, 3D Air Services and Wayne's Pest Control, two of our proud sponsors here on the Shelby County Football Pregame Show. Daniel, this looks like it could be a battle of two really good offenses. Calera is definitely improving over the last few weeks, especially on the ground, but the Spain Park team and absolutely as lethal as ever. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, like you said, Scott Riles and company have been playing a little bit better over in Calera. However, I just think these Jaguars are too good, too fast, too powerful for the Eagles to overcome tonight. And I think this Spain Park offense is going to have no trouble doing what it needs to get another win and set itself up well for the playoffs.
Awesome. I'm definitely thinking the exact same thing. I think Brock Bradley had a phenomenal week last week. That's going to set the tone for this week as well. You look at Calera's struggles overall, and it's really been on the defensive side overall, allowing 33.4 points per game this season. You have a Spain Park team that can come in and lock up the region title with a victory. The big key for Spain Park is going to have to be establish the tempo up front and stop that run. Jordan Henderson went for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns, as I mentioned. He's got to be object number one that you've got to stop for the Spain Park defense. And luckily, I think they have exactly what it takes with E.J. Curley, J.D. Bonamy, and the rest of that talented front seven that they have as well. I think Calera could definitely make some noise in this game if Spain Park gets out to a slow start. However, I do not think that's going to happen. I think that the Jags go into this one, clinch that number 2 seed, and be able to wrap up things for them as well. Let's go over to Helena and Chelsea. Going to be an absolutely phenomenal matchup that Alec Etheredge is at tonight. He'll have your live coverage tonight in what will be easily the most playoff stakes filled matchup of this entire slate. You have both of these two teams tied for that number 4 seed. And if Pelham loses Benjamin Russell, the winner could likely take the number 3 seed, especially if Helena does, because they will then have a tiebreaker over both Chelsea and Pelham. So it is must-win time for the Huskies that could clear up a lot about the bottom half of Class 6A Region 3. Before we enter that, we want to make sure we talk about Oak Mountain Hearing Association. If you have any hearing problems, hearing loss, or tinnitus, you want to make sure that you check out Oak Mountain Hearing's Pelham location that they just opened up. They're going to get you right. Make sure you search up Oak Mountain Hearing Association to learn more and go check them out if you are having any of those kinds of problems. Daniel, obviously I know you're a little bit of a Helena homer having graduated from there, but do your best to remain objective for this one. This is going to be a really good matchup, battle of two really good teams right here. Who do you have right now?
Well, the short answer to your question, Andrew, is I'm still undecided. However, okay, I do know what Helena needs to do to win, and you have to stop Chase Malone and Morgan Barnes. You stop that two-headed monster in the backfield, Helena gives itself a chance of pulling off its second win in a row and another crucial rivalry win. And that could just turn a tide for this whole season, Andrew, because I know the Huskies have had a rough go of it. Things were not going well. Only one win on the year heading into the Pelham matchup. But a big rivalry win like that can flip a switch. That can be the spark. However, I think Chase Malone is just too good to let that happen easily. And as much as I would love for the Huskies to pull this one out, I'm going with the Hornets tonight.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a really close and really good game for all those reasons that you mentioned. I think both of these teams come into this one with really good run games. I mean, you saw what Dom Santiago did. You just give him an edge block over there on the left or right side. He's going to be able to take that for at least 10 yards, if not 20 or 30. He did a phenomenal job doing that after Helena adjusted at the half. And then obviously with Chelsea, they're going to look to establish some downhill runs as well. Chase Malone been absolutely phenomenal, and he's had a long time running mate in Morgan Barnes, who's going to be able to take a little bit of load off of him and help this team go for what it hopes is over 200 yards rushing combined. They're going to hope that that's the case, because I think that that's where their best chances in winning this game stand. But one really big factor that I do want to mention for Helena, other than the quarterback position, because obviously that's going to be a big key, whether Caleb Soriano or Nate Ferguson suit up for the Huskies tonight, is going to be Jonathan Roberto. We didn't get a chance to mention him too much on the Shelby County Football Show earlier this week because we didn't have access to Helena's defensive stats at the time, but now we know he went for 20 tackles last week against Pelham, and being there in person, it honestly looks like it. He was involved in just about every gain that the defense was able to make that play against Spain Park. Against Pelham. But he really performed well both in coverage and in pursuit, making those plays in space, and he really played a factor down the stretch in making sure this Helena team was able to get over the line and get that close win against Chelsea. I think this Helena defense comes out with a hard-nosed nature and is going to be able to make the plays on the defensive side to be able to get that win. But it's going to be a close one. I could see this going either way. But right now, because of that defensive prowess, I think that this Helena team is going to come in and get that close win. We're going to move up to Class 7A now as we have just 2 matchups remaining on this slate. We hope you guys are settling in for a great night of high school football action as we get set for Week 9 of the high school football season. And we go now to homecoming at Oak Mountain High School. It is Herdmont Park that is going to play host to the Hewitt-Trussville Huskies as they battle the Oak Mountain Eagles. It's a big matchup for Hewitt. They're going to enter this matchup at 3-2 in region play, and that is a 4-way tie they are in right now with these Hoover Buccaneers right behind me, as well as the Vestavia Hills Rebels and the Prattville Lions, which just sprung the upset on Hewitt this past week. And we do want to make sure that we mention Wayne's Pest Control once again. They sponsor the Oak Mountain Eagles. They'll get you right as well in your insect and pest control needs. Go ahead and search them up, Wayne's Pest Control, and make sure that you are good for the coming season. As the weather gets colder, you're definitely going to make sure that you're protected against ants and all those other creatures that can get into your house. Daniel, it's been a battle of turnovers so far this season for Oak Mountain. You saw them a couple weeks ago against Vestavia, that Thursday night loss that they had coming into this matchup. And it seems like that was what was able to kill a lot of momentum, kind of like against Hoover and against some of these other teams that we've seen so far this season. Do you think that they're going to be able to get right in that regard? Or if not, do you think that there's another path to victory for this Oak Mountain team that enters this matchup at 3-4 overall and 1-4 in region play?
As much as I would like to see Shane McComb and company flip the script on the season, unfortunately, my answer to both of the questions you asked is no. I think that Charlie Vassarella is facing an even better defense than he was a week ago, and I think that Hewitt-Trussville is going to have no trouble taking the ball away. And if you're going to turn the ball over, I don't think that it's really going to be possible or feasible to win. So I'm going with the Huskies, and I think that they're going to bounce back after that Prattville loss a week ago.
Yeah, I think this Hewitt team's going to come in playing hungry and playing motivated after that Prattville loss. It was really just a couple of lack of preventing the run and a real lack of turnovers in the turnover battle that really prevented this team from getting over the line on the road last week at Stanley Jensen Stadium. It was a loose ball in the end zone and the interception that really ended up deciding this matchup. And it was definitely a really good opportunity for Hewitt to establish themselves in region play. And now they need this win very badly against an Oak Mountain team that is struggling. And I think they're going to be able to get a couple of takeaways on this team. But it's just Hewitt defense that I think is going to pave the way. And unless Oak Mountain is really able to get the pass game going as well as the run game, I think the run game is going to be key here, mainly with Marty Myrick. I think that he needs to get going, take advantage of those running game lapses that we saw last week from Hewitt-Trussville. But in the end, I like Hewitt to win this one big for all the same doubts that you had. And that brings us here to the Hoover Met for our game of the week. We're going to see the Thompson Warriors take on the Hoover Buccaneers. It's going to be an absolutely phenomenal rivalry battle, one that Hoover has gotten the better of in the regular season the last few years, but Thompson obviously coming in, winning the lion's share of the last few state championships. Going to mention Wayne's Pest Control one more time. We're proud and thankful for their sponsorship of the Thompson Warriors on both the Shelby County Football Show and the Shelby County Pregame Show. Give them a search at Wayne's Pest Control if you have any needs in that area. And Daniel, there's been a premier rivalry within Shelby County and within the entire Birmingham area for the last few years. I even got a DM on Twitter earlier today about somebody coming in from Ireland checking out the Alabama and Tennessee game, who will be at the Hoover Met tonight checking out one of the best matchups that we have to offer in the state. So definitely want to make sure that it's a big show for him. But Daniel, do you think that this matchup's going to live up to the hype? And who do you have in this matchup that we've really seen go either way over the last 2 years?
Andrew, those are some really intriguing questions. I'm really glad that our friend from Ireland made it here safely, and I'm very glad that he gets to check out a hidden gem, which is high school football in this part of the state. And that is something that I know you agree with, and I know everyone listening to the show would agree with. And to answer your first question, I do think this matchup lives up to the hype. Thompson and Hoover, it doesn't get much better in Class 7A or the state of Alabama or the country. It really does not. These two teams, there are colleges that they could give a run for their money. I wholeheartedly believe that. So I'm a little bit jealous that you're over at the Met tonight. That's going to be an absolute classic. However, I'm going with Thompson to get it done. This Thompson team has been absolutely unbelievable. There's that loss to Grayson, and there's the other one. I'm struggling to remember who that was
against Clay Chalkville, and then
Clay
they bounced back with 2 wins against Hewitt and Hillcrest Tuscaloosa, so they're coming into this matchup fresh off of 2 victories.
Okay, yeah, and those are honorable losses. Clay Chalkville's right up there with Grayson and Thompson and Hoover, for that matter, some of the best teams that this country has to offer. So I think Thompson's going to get it done and flip the script against Hoover in the regular season.
Yeah, we enter this matchup with a lot of playoff stakes on top of these rivalry stakes. A win here against Hoover would lock up that region championship for Thompson. It would be a big boost going into the playoffs, being able to host the bulk of that playoff schedule there at Warrior Stadium. They always love that home field advantage, so it would definitely be a good thing in that regard. And with Hoover, they need to win to get separation, that 4-way tie for second, so that they will want to win this matchup to position themselves well for the playoffs and potentially a home playoff game as well. And we definitely want to make sure that we shout out that Thompson run game because they scored 5 touchdowns just a week ago against Hillcrest. We're able to cap off drives a lot better than they have throughout the season. I think they're going to have a difficult time doing so tonight because seeing this Hoover front 7 against Spain Park, they did a very good job of establishing the tempo up there and forcing Spain Park to go to the pass game a little bit more often. But it's going to be a really intriguing battle because this Hoover defense overall outside of that Spain Park game really has not been performing too well on the season. They're allowing 23.5 points per game, and they allowed big numbers in that loss against Hillcrest. That slow start kind of killed them there, and then they were able to claw back against Parker for that non-region win, another really elite offense down there in Class 6A. And they allowed 21 points to Oak Mountain as well, a team that we had just mentioned was shut out by Vestavia just last week. However, this Hoover offense is absolutely elite and will probably be one of the best units that this Thompson team faces this season. They're scoring 33.3 points per game. They got guys like Jonah Winston and Jeremiah Tabb out on the edges making big plays and causing a lot of havoc with their speed and skill and their hands as well. So I think this game is going to be one on the edges because of that. But because of that, I really do like Trent Seaborn in this regard. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to pick his spot, to get out to that receiving core and just be able to work down the field, get some consistent yards and consistent drives. And I think that the consistency overall is really going to be what drives this team forward. It's what we haven't really seen much from Hoover this season, but it is what we've seen from Thompson. And I do believe that that's going to be what gets them over the hump and what could be a very hostile environment here at the Met. That's going to do it for us here at the Shelby County Pregame Show. I want to thank all of our loyal viewers, 44 viewers on this broadcast. Big shout out to you guys for watching across all 3 platforms. Shout out to Donna Bowles in the Facebook comment section as well. Definitely want to see you guys chiming in on social media all night long. Twitter is going to be where you find your live coverage for tonight. At Daniel J. Locke is going to be where Shelby County fans can follow along with his live coverage. We'll also have Dave Domestic out at Oak Mountain Hewitt Trustville with live updates as well. Alec Etheredge SC is the Twitter handle for all of your Helena and Chelsea updates. And then T-Rayleigh34 out there at Clear in Spain Park. And of course, you already know where I am. It's the Hoover Met, and it's going to be a phenomenal environment. I will have your updates all night long on a great game that should be an absolutely phenomenal battle here in Class 7A Region 3. Daniel, any closing thoughts on the night?
Yeah, they just played Taylor Swift out here in Columbiana, so that's how you know it's going to be a great night. The vibes are high in Columbiana. It's going to be a great night of high school football.
It truly is Taylor Swift season as we enter the month of October here across the nation. But we do want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you follow along with us all night long. That's going to do it for us here on the Shelby County Pregame Show. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you next week on the Shelby County Football Show.